Yo, bro.
What's going on, man?
What do you want to eat?
I don't know, man. What do you want to eat?
Bro, there's like literally no food in the house at all.
You got any ideas?
Oh, wait. Hold on.
What you got?
Bro, look at this.
Mac and cheese. Nothing like a box of Kraft mac and cheese for a broke college student.
Nothing like it.
Alright, tonight we're doing a video on how to make the perfect box of Kraft macaroni and cheese. I got my roommate Bob with me to be my cameraman and make some cameo appearances.
Okay.
Alright. Start the perfect box of mac and cheese. You want to get a nice pot. You don't want to get a pot that's too big or too small. It's got to be a nice medium-sized pot. You want to fill it with some water, maybe about halfway. Just enough water so it covers up the all the macaroni. So you don't want any macaroni left out in the cold. So you fill up the pot about halfway like that. Give me a shot of the pot, bro.
Okay, there's the pot,
So
about
you know
halfway.
How much water?
Halfway, right.
Set the pot on the stove.
Okay.
My mom says that salt quickens up the boiling process, so sprinkle a little salt in there maybe.
Right.
And go ahead and turn it on high, because you're just boiling it, so you just want it to boil real quick. And then a top will also help the water boil a little faster and speed up this cooking process. So that's part one to cooking mac and cheese. And now we're going to go ahead and wait for that water to boil. Alright, now part two is where you got to start by reading some instructions. On the side of the box it tells you how much butter and how much milk you need, and you really got to read instructions because each box of macaroni and cheese is different.
Right.
So we head on over here to the refrigerator, get out a stick of butter, and some milk.
Okay.
Then,
Butter and
you
milk.
got to get a knife. Any type of knife will work. This box of macaroni and cheese calls for 4 tablespoons of butter or margarine and a 1/4 cup of milk. So, you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 tablespoons, which is half a stick, and saw it off.
Okay.
Put the other half back in the refrigerator.
Probably want to put it on a cutting board or not on a table.
My roommate makes a great point.
Cause then look at the
Putting it on
mark.
the table could scrape the table.
Look at the mark.
And I left the mark.
And you don't want to do that because
Use
then
a
that's
cutting
more
board.
fine.
So, now you got your half stick of butter. Step 2, the milk. You need a 1/4 cup of milk. So, go ahead and get a measuring cup.
Now, what if you don't have a 1/4 cup?
You gotta guesstimate.
What if you only have a half a cup
Of milk?
no, I'm saying a half cup measure.
Oh, if you have a half cup measure, you just go half of a half a cup.
Right. Okay.
I do a little bit of math there.
Right. Because it doesn't have to be perfection.
Right. It doesn't have to be perfection.
Doesn't have to be perfection.
You can guesstimate a little bit. Okay. By the way, we're doing all this while the water is boiling. We're waiting for the water to boil. Alright, so you get that and you set that to the side. Now if we go over here to our water, it looks like it's to a great boil. Come on over here, Bob. Show them what the water needs to look like. You want your water to be at a nice high rolling boil.
Right.
You don't want it to be at a simmering. You want it to be very hot.
Right. No, because I'm thinking the worst thing that could happen is if the noodles aren't cooked all the way.
The noodles have to be cooked all the way, so therefore, water's got to be at a nice hard boil.
Nice hard boil.
So then, you go ahead and pop open your box of macaroni and cheese.
Okay.
And very important step here, you want to make sure you take out the cheese packet.
That is
You don't
key.
want to put that into the hot boiling water. So
Okay.
you take out the cheese packet and go ahead and dump all that macaroni right into the water. So, after you dump, go ahead and get a nice spoon, something to stir with, and stir that on up one time.
And why are you doing that?
Well, you don't want the noodles to stick together.
Right.
You don't want the noodles to be all stuck together. You want them to be loose, so they cook better.
Okay. And you guys see how the water is over the noodles.
So, at the beginning, in step 1, you got to make sure that you put enough water in to cover all the noodles, because no noodle left behind. No one likes a noodle that's left behind. So, be sure not to put a top on that, because it could boil over and make a big mess. And you might even want to turn your heat down to maybe halfway or so it doesn't boil over and make a mess. Alright, that's part 2. See you guys at part 3. Alright, now for part 3. Gotta start part 3 by draining the noodles. We started by turning off the heat and taking the noodles off the heat.
Okay.
And you want to go and get a strainer. Let's see. This one will work. Well, maybe you want a bigger one. What else?
Okay. Show them that strainer, bro. Show them so they know what it looks like. It has holes in it.
Has holes in it. Typical strainer. Anything will work. You just want to make sure it's big enough where it'll hold all of your macaroni.
Okay.
So now you got your strainer. You put your strainer in the sink, and very carefully, because the water's still hot, we don't want anyone to burn themselves, dump it into the strainer.
And you don't need to get every single one out, right?
You don't need to get everyone out. There's a couple things sitting in there. That's alright.
Okay.
Macaroni will survive.
Right.
Alright. Now we take it over here to our milk and our butter that we cut up during step 2. And we have those ready. And then we want to bring those over to our pan.
Right.
Hot. And take your strained noodles, dump them back into the pot that you cooked out of.
Okay.
Add in your milk and your butter. Now with the butter, sometimes I like to just go ahead and cut the butter into 3 or 4 pieces. That way it melts quicker, and you don't just have a big glob of butter sitting in there. So toss those on in.
That's a really good idea.
I thought of that, did you?
Mm-mm.
Alright, toss those on in. And then find your spoon. And go ahead and stir that in. Just so that the butter starts to melt. After you do that, you go and get the most important part. The cheese. Pop open your bag of cheese. Open it nice and wide. And just sprinkle on in and watch the orange goodness take over the noodles. Make sure you get every little grain of cheese, because it's the most important thing. Then, it's stir time. You just want to go ahead and thoroughly stir the cheese into the macaroni.
And the most important, man, the outside edges, because it always gets stuck.
The outside edges are key.
The way he's stirring, he's getting the outside edges.
You got to make sure that you don't have any cheese trapped on the side where it's not getting into your mac. Because it is mac and cheese after all.
And if you guys are butter lovers like myself, you can throw a little bit extra butter in there if you need to as well.
Mac and cheese isn't a specific art. If you like your mac and cheese a little bit drier, maybe a little less milk. If you like it buttery, like my roommate, by all means, more butter. Just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now that ends part 4. Where's that part? Part 4. Or was that part 3? Part 3, and we'll go ahead on to part 4. Alright, now part 4 starts with some very difficult decisions. After you finish making your macaroni, you got to decide on some things. Do you go plate?
Mm-hmm.
Do you go bowl? Do you go fork? Do you go spoon? Do you go big spoon? Do you go little spoon?
Right.
Do you go big fork? Small fork? We have all types of decisions to make. Me personally, I go big fork, plate. So we come on over here to the mac and cheese. Stir it up a little bit just to get all the sides. And then go ahead and just dump right onto the plate. Now you want to make sure you get all the mac and cheese because you're probably really hungry. And that's a lot of mac and cheese. Most of the time, you might want to share it with a roommate or something. So bring that on over to the table. Set it down. Now, for some people, toppings are necessary. Personally, I like to go with some Parmesan cheese. Great value. Broke college student once again. Just go ahead and sprinkle that Parmesan right onto the mac and cheese a little bit. Make sure you get a nice plaster. And you got to have something to wash it down with. Personally, I go with a nice tall glass of milk. And then from there is the best part. Big bite of broke college student mac and cheese. Bon appetit.